This video is about measurement validity. What we're trying to consider is ideas of accuracy and precision. Before we start, we are not talking about study validity. We still have to ensure that our study design itself is either internally or externally valid. Usually we don't get both. But it doesn't matter if we have a really cool study if we are not measuring the different variables accurately. Our study design falls apart, and vice versa. So quick review. When we're talking about reliability, we're talking about the idea of precision. So here we are very reliable. All of the dots are right in a row. And here we're also very reliable. All of the dots are right in a row. The difference is that this one is also valid. We're also accurate. We're hitting the bullseye that we're intending. This one is not very accurate because we're off target. Over here, we're less reliable, but we're still hitting pretty close to the target. So we can consider this one is sort of valid, but it's just not very reliable. And this one is just not good at all. So since we have a hard time being valid without reliability, we start with reliability. And when we talk about measurement reliability, there's really two ideas here. So first of all, is the instrument consistently measuring the construct? So think about this as over time. If you are really measuring my personality should not change over time. And we're not talking about baby to senior in high school personality. We're talking about my personality pretty much as an adult should not change. The other way to think about this is respondents answering consistently. So this is internal consistency, and all studies are going to need this. This is looking at, on a single construct, on a single factor, is it reliable? Is it answered consistently? A lot of times what we end up finding is those people who just answer A all the way down your survey, and that's not reliable. We want to make sure that the person is answering consistently and they're not just all over the place. It requires one administration. This is not over time. And you're measuring one construct at a time. If you are doing multiple dimensions in your survey, then there's going to be multiple analysis. And usually the analysis is Cronbach's alpha. If it's high stakes, a Cronbach's alpha of 0.9 or higher is needed, but really most of the time we're talking about a Cronbach's alpha of 0.7 or higher to be considered a reliable measure. Now we need to evaluate the validity of a measure. These happen in studies that are going to create measures and also in validation studies. So there's kind of three different ideas of a validation study. It could be an older measure that we're saying, hey, does it still work? So if there's an anxiety measure on statistics that was developed in the 80s, I don't know that that's still going to be valid for our current students. Or newer measures could be validated for a different group. So if this measure has always been used in the business world, can it be used in education? Or a lot of times right now in education, this is happening by bringing adult measures and validating them for use with younger ages. It could also be a validation with a different language or culture. I've seen this done with Australian measures that we have to use or that we want to use in the US, and does that actually work? And also with a lot of Spanish translations. You can't necessarily just translate a survey and a measure into another language and it still work the same way. And what we're doing with validity, measurement validity, is we're looking at accuracy and we're trying to match this intended theory, these items that we think are measuring this thing, to some mathematical backing. So if we think that we are measuring self-confidence, are we actually measuring self-esteem? And if we think that we're measuring one big global self-esteem, are we actually measuring three different aspects of self-esteem? That's the kind of stuff that we're asking with measurement validity. And this starts with content validity. So if you think back to the social justice scale that we examined in the spring, the idea with this scale is that it was going to be measuring your views of social justice. But we really picked apart that survey item by item and discussed it And we really questioned it. We think that it's actually measuring perceived actions, so my perception of how I act on social justice, and not necessarily my actual actions or my true views of social justice. That scale also had issues because there was a lot of socially desirable answers to certain items. So that's what content validity is asking. Are the items actually measuring what we think that they are? And this is typically done with expert reviews. So we need experts in social justice to be examining these items. And it also needs to be strongly based in literature. We don't just pull these items from nowhere. They should be grounded strongly in previous research. We're also looking at, are the items interpreted by the participants the way that we want them to be? A lot of times this comes down to jargon and making sure that it is in the right language. So I can't take researcher language and make it teacher language. Well, that's what I would need to do. So for example, if I'm trying to measure teachers' views of assessments, I need to make sure that those items are in teacher language about assessments and not standardized test language and the people who create those. So this is slightly different. This is usually done with cognitive interviews. You should always consider doing this one for any study that you do. We're also, with content validity, examining hardest to easiest items. This is done with item analysis. And we're trying to create a ruler of whatever construct you have. So if we're looking at stats anxiety, I need a range of questions about stats anxiety to create a good way to measure your stats anxiety. I can't have all of them be super hard items because I don't know. That's just not a good ruler. If we're only measuring the high end of the ruler, we need questions that vary throughout this idea of the construct. There's also criterion validity. This is really only done during measure creation or a validation study. But when you are choosing to use a measure, this is something that you need to be looking for to see how they established it. And what we're doing is we're looking at validating the construct based on existing other measures, either about the same construct or about a different construct. So if I am trying to create a new measure of anxiety that is geared for high school students, I could use an existing scale of anxiety for adults to say, okay, if my scale converges, is highly correlated with this existing scale that has been established that it's about anxiety, then that means mine is also about anxiety. So you're just kind of trying to confirm that your construct is measuring what you think it is. And the opposite with diversion. This actually helps give evidence that this is a similar construct, but it's different. And so there should be differences in the correlation between them. So if we were looking at self-worth versus self-esteem, they should be similar, but they should look differently once we actually look at some of the correlations between those two constructs. So now we can look at construct validity. This is the construction of the measure. This is something that you should always consider doing. And what we're really asking is the scale being used as intended? If you have a 4-point agreement scale, great. Do you include a neutral? Is it a frequency scale? Is it 7 points? Is it 11 points? Is it 4 points? If it's 11 points, were all of them being used? Probably not. So just really considering the scale itself, and is that valid? We should also consider the idea that not all of the scales are equal intervals. For example, if I am in the agree category, the step it would take me to get into strongly agree, is that the same step it would take me for me to go down to disagree? Probably not. And in most cases, we're just assuming that the scales are equal. It's a 4-point scale. Going from a 2 to a 3 is the same as going from a 2 to a 1. We just assume that and we move on. If you want to take it further, we have to apply item response theory. If you've heard me talk about Rosh, that is my go-to for IRT. And finally, we have internal structure validity. What this is saying is that some measures measure one thing, but a lot of measures measure smaller things within a larger idea. For example, the Rosenberg self-esteem scale measures global self-esteem, versus the harder self-esteem scale actually measures several dimensions of your self-esteem, kind of throughout your day or throughout your life, and different aspects of your self-esteem. This is done in measure creation and validation studies, but you could also use this to verify for your study that the scale is working as intended, that the whole structure is working as intended. This is typically done with exploratory factor analysis, which is fairly straightforward. We can also do it with confirmatory factor analysis, or we can take it even further and examine using Roche and IRT. Additionally, we can ask if these factors stay the same for all groups and populations. That is really important to verify.